master's in Carlow, a few years ago now at this stage. I was lucky enough then, I worked over in Boston for an internship over there in Harvard University in the sports department for 6 months. Mentorship programs, coaching through Tottenham Hotspur, and I also got to go over there and spend a week with their coaches, the extension coaches around Europe, just looking at the different methodologies around coaching in general. My background, my qualification, I suppose, are more started off in athletic development, but I will say my passion is actually in coaching. So that's kind of where I started to get a real grow for it. Just listening to some of the best coaches around in Europe. I've been working in Dublin GAA, well I was with Dublin GAA for just over 5 years. During that time, obviously, I was very lucky to spend 4 years up here with the ladies, having some amazing times. As I said, spent a lot of time in this room. And after Dublin GAA then, I worked for as a coach developer for them as well, going around to various other smaller clubs around Dublin while I was linked in with Coola, and now I'm full-time in Coola for nearly a year now as the director of coaching there. I kind of stopped, which is, I was just chatting to Paul and Jack there about how you want to stay within the game, coaching teams as much as you can, but I am obviously, wouldn't say I'm hands-on too much with any individual team within Coola. When you're with different teams, you feel actually what's working out onto the pitch, and I've been out of that game now for about a year. I'm looking to get back into it, but while I was out of it, I took last year off just to go travelling around different colleges, teams around, lucky enough to go back to Harvard, Stanford, the Highlanders in New Zealand, North Melbourne, and a couple of other AFL teams, just to see how things, how they're coaching over there. In the GAA, it's phenomenal the work that's going on, but sometimes we can kind of get a little bit insular in how we think about the game, how we coach the game, and it's just nice to hear what other coaches or other organisations are doing for your own development. But that's been my own background. So again, just like that slide here, it's a little bit of a mishmash and everything. Currently, right now, obviously, as a director in Coola, and quite busy at the moment, which is great. So, principles of play, that's really what we're looking at today. Can anybody tell me what you think they are? What do principles of play mean to you? Bear in mind, it's early in the morning, so no problem with silence. We'll warm up a little bit after a while. So anything at all, we'll jump.
What way you want to play?
The way you want to play?
Yeah.
Perfect, yeah. Can you give me any examples of the way you want to play, or what?
It could be fast-flowing football, or what the sort of style you want to play and what you want to bring to the players as well.
Yeah. So that's really what it is, the way you want to play. And as coaches, it's very helpful to know that. I'm sure everybody coach does. But after that, then we have to ask ourselves, then how do we coach the way we want to play? And that's nearly equally, is not more important, because we can all have great ideas about what we'd like to play, but how we actually coach it is really what's about how we get the message across to our players. We can't effectively tell players, I want you to do this, and expect them to just go out and do it. We need to basically train instincts, and instincts come from what we do out on the pitch. So that's really, again, just a little kind of breakdown. There are kind of rules that we have that help teams be the most effective way of playing the game, whether we're in possession or whether we're out of possession. We'll come back to that for a little bit more meat on that in a second. My first challenge here is to see if this video plays. Brilliant. This is obviously just from last weekend. Hopefully you can see that okay. So that's one way, same game, but it's a different moment within the game. Okay, same game, two, shall we say, different things, we call it principles going on there. Can anybody spot it straight away? Sort of interest. Any differences that maybe the two teams where they're setting up what their principles would be?
And
Sorry?
and
Yeah. Which team was doing that? Do you think more? Doing it? Now we're doing it. They were defending the D. Were they doing it in a different way to Tyrone or the same way as Tyrone? Different. What sense were they different, do you think?
They move in a line together.
Yeah,
Tight together.
exactly. That was our model there. Yeah. What was Tyrone doing?
They move in a line.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really it. We'll come back to that a bit more. Okay, so as I said, great answers. We'll come back to that in a second. But before we move on to the actual principles, just why do you think that they're important? What does having a general idea what way you want to play it help you or help the players that you're dealing with?
focus to the give focus to the coaches here.
Brilliant. Focus, clarity, exactly. Anything else?
Some confidence in the
Brilliant. Right. You see who's yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Great answers there. Gives you focus as a coach, gives you focus, you know, when you're designing your training sessions, that you know what you're actually going to be working on here. Confidence to you and the players is the same with the focus that they know, you know, effectively, no matter what happens in a game, these players know, they've seen this before the training session, they know exactly what they're meant to do within that situation. As they get used to it, they know, yeah, it's not always going to work the way you want it to work, but if we turn the ball over high up the pitch, players know exactly where they're meant to be, how they're going to try and get this ball back effectively. If we turn the opposition over deep in our defence, we know exactly what we want to try and do here, and everybody's on the same wavelength, and again that lends itself to more efficiency. Confidence that comes from that is just, it's immeasurable, to be honest with you. It gives players even more freedom than as well. A lot of times, certain people would suggest that the more coached the team is, it kind of takes away their freedom. I'd be very much kind of the other side of things, that it actually lends itself to more freedom, as long as you're not, shall we say, over-coaching them. Because that confidence it gives players allows them to express themselves a little bit more, and everybody's not just kind of playing this game with their hair on fire a little bit. As you said, the preparedness and the control, exactly that. So these are some of the different principles that some of you have already pointed out there. This is not an exhaustive list, and don't worry about the terminology. Honestly, coming from me, Carlo, Kilkenny, where I kind of grew up, Dublin, people use different terminology for different things, so don't read too much into that. And again, there will be way more that is here right now. But there's a lot of them there, okay? This is, you would see from 2 clips that we looked at, some of this stuff going on, okay? Principles of play then. So if we go back to this slide, we look at everything here, and then we're asking ourselves as coaches, well, how can we break this down even more? Okay, can we even simplify this more? And this is effectively what we're looking for here. Gaelic football, hurling, nearly every sport is you're going to have the ball, you're going to not have the ball, and then there's going to be certain situations. And you need to hopefully have your team prepared for every one of those. And if you can, it gives you such a coaching advantage over the opposition. The first two, pretty self-explanatory. Situational. What do you think I mean by situation? You could argue that some of the situation I would say could be with the ball or without the ball, but I like to just kind of separate heading, kind of focus on that at times, because I think it's just important we don't get lost in it. What do you think situational might be?
Set plays or kick outs.
Exactly. So you've got your kick-outs, sidelines, frees, 45s, throw-ups, no moment, everything like that. They're all the situations, but they're things that we need to maybe have a separate block of different times in the year how we're going to focus on those and then link it into the ball and without the ball. And they do all link in quite well. So now we're going to move on to how we coach them. So, you know, general idea, we need to hopefully have principles of play. Now the big thing is how do we actually coach them? What are the researchers as well as the people on the ground saying what's the best way of doing this? Because like everything, there's an effective way of trying to coach our principles, there's maybe a less effective way, and possibly a way that doesn't really work overly well at times. Alright? So this is a guy who's obviously studying this, coming from a soccer background, and whether you're into soccer or not, or you may not be friends with it, they are, all the money is going into soccer. You know, it's a $1 billion industry, so their coaches are going to be part of the game.
So really importantly, it doesn't make the coach redundant, but it does pretty radically alter the job of the coach and of the educator. So it changes the role of the coach from being the source of knowledge or the source of the correct solution. It changes their role from that to being a designer of environments, right? And a designer of constraints. And where the coach's job is less about making the person move in a particular way and more about creating training environments that allow the person to explore and find those solutions themselves. And so this is another big sort of key idea in the ecological approach. You can't just take a learner, plonk them down into the middle of a football game and expect them to learn football. There's far too much going on. So this is, in the ecological approach, coaching is about the development of constraints, right? And the idea of a constraint is simply what you're doing is you're trying to create a smaller version of some aspect of the game that within the bounds of that constraint still has all the interesting stuff going on in it, all the elements that would be present on game day, but you've constrained it so that, say, there's only a few of those available. And you're trying to make it so that there are opportunities to act that will be present on game day, but you're spending time practicing, skillfully engaging with that sort of restricted set of it, right? And so this becomes the really important job of the coach now, and this gets really tough. This is very hard, is figuring out how best to constrain the environment down so that you're still offering the player all the opportunities to learn how to perceive and act in the game day context, but not overwhelm them and not guide their attention to come up with solutions that won't work on the day. So then the role of the coach remains really important, but it becomes completely different, right? It becomes about designing environments, designing training environments, and then evaluating how well that design went. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, because when you let people explore those spaces, they sometimes come up with ways of solving the task that never even occurred to you. And if that's not what you were trying to encourage them to do, then you have to come up with another way of reshaping the environment. And you'll do that in collaboration with your players. You will start to co-redesign the environment and iterate that over time. So it becomes it's still a really, like the role of the educator, of the person who's trying to guide learning, remains really kind of central, but it's less of a position of authority and more of like a central node in a network of things, and their job's to bring those things together in dialogue.
Okay, so probably that's the longest video you'll be watching. Can anybody maybe even simplify more what he's saying there? Does that make sense to you in any way? Anybody just break that out first?
You simplify it down, he's talking about game-based training, game environment, training as what he wants to do in a match. So it's small sections to deliver his ultimate within
That's perfect. That's exactly what it is. So we have our training principle. We know what we're trying to do. We've seen it happen in a game, and again I touched this, so we've seen what's happening in a game where there's our team that are playing, or we're trying to mimic something that another team is playing. So we know the general idea, but when we're trying to coach that, we need to understand that we need to break that down into smaller parts. Because if we're looking to put a high press on a team, or we want to get our players better at bringing the ball out and playing with their heads up, if we just say, okay, that's our principle, now let's play like a 15v15 or a 10v10 or something like that again, trying to tell the players we need to do that, this is what we want you to do, that probably won't transfer very well or won't work most efficiently because it's too big, it's too broad, okay? Players might have the skill set to be able to do that, they might be able to get the head up and actually ping that past 30, 40 metres. They might actually, the biggest thing within that game that you designed, they might not get enough repetitions of these skills that we're trying to do. So how we design the game, understanding that we need to try to bring it back down to the players' level, where they're under 12 or under 13 club players or they're senior inter-county. Find the level that they're at, design the game for that level, so it's challenging but not too challenging enough. And then look at the game, is there enough repetitions within this game that we're doing here is actually going to allow themselves to develop quickly. Again, we'll come back to that in a second. So effectively that's skill acquisition. So you have within our principles of play, you need a certain level of skill of you to perform, and that's how we learn the principle is also effectively how we're going to learn the skill. All right, how the players are going to become better at hitting the ball, okay, left and right handed, hand passing, outside the foot kicking, etc. Everything that all effectively needs to come back to a game-based approach, which is previous logical dynamics and constraints led. So just moving on here. So previously, sure we've all grown up, maybe we can still do it. The traditional type of approach would be very much linear, very much coaches telling players, you've got to do this. Every single time you have to do this, very much black and white. Mainly we did a lot of kind of linear games. We call it closed games where there isn't a lot of thinking after going on. It's just you run to this one, you can pass it to this player, he's going to run over here. And it looks very clean, probably looks very snappy. We tell them that, great lad, we're going to do this half pace for a minute. Now let's really put the boot down, we're going to do this flat out for 30 seconds. We've all been there, we've probably all done it, we've still done it. What we're suggesting is maybe that there might be better ways of doing that. So this game down here, where we've all, what you call it, it's similar to probably truck and trailer type of game. This is really what you might have seen. So as I said, fine. Okay, again, it looks clean. Players possibly enjoy it. You can ramp up the speed, the intensity, etc. But the question we're always asking is, are our players developing their own suggestion? I want to use this as an example, obviously, but what are they learning? Are they improving as players? Is there any thinking going on? Is there any decision making, etc.? All of that probably is very, very low. Okay? So what we're looking for then is the next step is this, we want to do a second, is effectively the logical dynamics approach, which is more how can we design a game. With that previous game, they're looking at obviously improving hand passing, but how can we put that into a game that's actually going to help them, as well as focusing on the hand passing, we're going to be focusing on decision making, teamwork, and really overall developing more of a sporting IQ. Alright? So that comes back to this kind of we're guiding them rather than instructing them. The environment that we're creating is lending itself to them hopefully being able to make mistakes within reason. It's not going to be too challenging, but it is going to be challenging enough, and it's going to be my sweet spot. Please don't read too much into any of these games. They're not exactly everything I'm trying to say, but they're just kind of hopefully for demonstration purposes. So rather than kind of doing, well, you've got to run to this cone, you've got to run to this cone, this player runs here, you should be over here, we play the mini matches. And then within the games then, we can put constraints on players where they have only one touch, not one touch. They have to support runners in one score if everybody's up to pitch. When you get a hand pass, you might have your next pass is 30 metres, or you get bonus points if you get an inside pass and you're running on the shoulder. There's loads of stuff we can do. Effectively, the overall point we're trying to make is we can create different games, and it doesn't have to be like goals at one side of the pitch, one side of the other, but we're really looking for some sort of decision making going on. It's very, very close to what we're looking for. Right? That's, just go back here, that's just some of the research on how we're learning skills. So if we want to learn how to hand pass, we want to learn how to kick the ball, or left and the right foot, overhead catching, etc. You can read that yourself for a second. I won't spend too long on it because already we're probably behind time. But overall, you can see that learning skills in isolation, learning skills where there's not a lot of thinking going on, basically does not translate very, very well to as you see, there's some research coming out of some GAA guys, and you know Paul Nurse are in the end there, and the parents advice. So really, top of the game is skill development, skill acquisition at the moment. Any questions on any of that? Sorry,
but just would that be slightly different for underrated, say under 12s, 13s, where you're trying to get those skills, just basic skills, and then we're trying to get to minors or whatever, then you're making them
so. And it's a great question. What I said yesterday, is no, it wouldn't be any different. But what we have to do is just reverse the game back a little bit further to their level. Okay. So if you take a 12-year-old, really what we're saying is that if I'm a 12-year-old and I'm just going to go ball against the wall or out to the pitch and just work on my inside the foot kicking from distance, as soon as they're at a relative level, we call it there, get to the idea of the movement, which is another scientific term they put on it. As soon as you have a feel for that movement, once you're comfortable with that, we need to put that skill into context. Because me kicking the ball on my own over the bar from 20 metres, okay, that is what we call it. You might say I'm good at that movement, but I'm not classified as a skillful player. All right? Because the skill, in a sense, has to be done within the context. The context is the game. All right? You're not a skillful player until you can do that movement within a game. And the context is the players around, with dynamic movements, etc. So what I would say is that if your players are not able to play a game where they're not able to do the game where, we call it any sort of game where you're trying to get them to focus on kicking passes and doing that, if they're not able to do that the way you want it within a game that you've designed, you just have to bring the game back a little bit further and find it there a level. So it could be, again, very much back to maybe academy level where we're trying to get our kids kick with a hook kick rather than one kicking. We could have a little game of no man's land. Alright? So there's a little bit of a challenge in it. Okay, you give them extra bonus points for using the inside of their foot. There's a bit of fun in it. There's a small bit of decision making because it's going to be footballs flying all over the place. It's going to be players kind of running left and right trying to catch them, etc. But it's not a game, but it's kind of at their level right now. As they improve on that, then you can start layering in more challenges to that skill. But what we're saying is that for me and you, originally would have been just kick the ball back and forth to one another, the skill, that's not going to transfer very, very well. Did I explain that to all the apologies. Using myself to explain that, so apologies, and come back to me if you have any more questions on it. Right through it again. Just again, from time-wise, it's another video which I won't play now, but this is really about talking about we're learning the skill. We know that you need a good bit of repetition, but the repetition can't be the exact same thing every time. It needs to be repetition without repetition. So every time we're designing a game, we can put in little different traits to it to challenge them in certain ways. So they have to move maybe a little bit differently, kick that ball, or they have to give that left-handed hand pass, it forces them to do that, the right-handed hand pass, etc. Or it forces them to get their head up and scan inside rather than just all the time with their head down. Right? So that's what we were speaking about here. It goes on to talk about how there's a word, etc. How they do it. It always looks like they're very good, but they're not. All the little tweaks here and there that are really coaches understand. So, to sum up, okay, we're going to reverse engineer the game that we're playing back to improve it, or we're going to reverse engineer the moments of the game. So really, we're reversing here the game that we're playing. Okay, we're not playing in the morning against playing this evening against Down. That's our game. That's our principle. We know what we're trying to do, so the next training session on Tuesday night we're going to look at the things we did well, what we didn't do well, but we're going to try just improve what we're doing. Or the other side of that is saying, okay, don't really like the way we're playing at the moment, we're going to take some other themes, their principles, some other ideas, we're going to try to reverse engineer them back. So you have to decide what exactly that we're trying to do there and have that focus. We're always asking ourselves, okay, how close is what we're doing to the game? Your point, it will probably look a little bit further away from the game the older we get, but you have to keep an eye on their skill and see, can I push this on just a little bit more, keep challenging, because the closer we get it to the game or something that I know that looks like the game, then we know that it'll be learning going on here, and that's really going to transfer when you play the games on Saturdays. And then you look at it again, we can have nice games, they can be great, they can look snappy, they can look sharp, players are just bombing around intensely, brilliant, but as coaches sometimes you have to step back then again. This can be hard. I always get caught up in the moment as well, where you're just trying to get a session done and really intense. You need to keep asking yourself, are we working with what we're trying to work on here? Are we just running a session? Okay? Is the game that we've decided, could be small-sided, it could be whatever it is, large-sided, etc. Is there enough exposure in that to really get the players improving what we're trying to do? Or is it just, a sharp, snappy session, which is not the end of the world, it's fine, but again, you're all here probably looking to see how we can push it on even more. And I always just keep scaling 1 to 10, but am I happy with this? How far away is it from the game? Is there much exposure in it? And trying to find those gold standard games I really, really like, and really just keep going after them. Don't overcomplicate it. Once you have something, you have it, don't overcomplicate it. So, right, principles of play without the ball. Throw them out there. Anyone at all got any suggestions? Alright, we're playing down this evening. Okay. We have not got the ball. What are the options that we could do to try and get this ball back from down? White press. Anything else? Tackle into contact. Okay, yeah, absolutely. And if high press doesn't work, what do you go into?
Man or zone.
Man or zone, yeah.
Track runners.
So it's track runners, yeah. I think it covers a lot of stuff there, I'd say, yeah. So really what we're going to try to do, then we're trying to break it down. You can be pressing high, you can press in mid, or we can press in low, alright? All of those things themselves, there's various, you can go into a little bit deeper with them. The high press, we can do that only, we can do that man to man, we can have a little bit of rotational man to man going on. From there then, if that doesn't work, we can drop it down into like a pendulum, into a mid press. As you see, that's probably going to be less and less going on now with the new rules. At the moment, it's going to be harder and harder to get a mid press on, I think. Again, when the time comes out. And then the low press, which we're probably going to see even more now, probably than ever with the low press going on. So we're going to start with a low press. Okay, this is from last weekend, or maybe weekend before, I think. Just we're really looking at Dublin here, by the way. I'm just having a look what way they're setting up. So I'm just play that again. What would you say Dublin are doing there? I know sweeping generalisation, going to judge Dublin off 10-second clip there now, but let's go for it. What are Dublin doing? What kind of press are they doing? Low press. Within the low press then, what's their principles of play from defending a low press? How are they doing it? Man to man. Yeah, that's really it. Anything else going on, or do you want to see what Dublin usually do? Are they changing anything there? Or do they just usually go man to man and do a little bit better than things in that clip, which I suggest they do. You know, typically Dublin teams are all pretty man to man. We'll call it a shadow defence man to man with a little bit of rotation in it then as well, where they never really get like too many fingers get isolated. Sorry.
Fill in the central channel.
Sorry.
Fill in the central channel.
Dublin.
After
Yeah.
45.
They typically in that situation they are filling it, but are they filling it because the principal, or are they filling it because they're kind of being dragged in there by doing all players? That's the question. I would suggest it looks like they're there that they're just more man-to-man in that situation, but also typically this is second game of the league and they don't have a huge amount of work done at the moment. So I think they're still finding themselves, but generally speaking, those are man-to-man defense with a bit of rotation. Now again, I'm going to speak this off Adam Mullen. Okay, something last weekend we really was saying this was very good and saved me an hour's work there, so I don't want to credit Adam for that. Okay. What are we seeing there from any goal? Consistent, yeah. What is so consistent about it, do you think?
Constantly on the ball.
That's
I
good.
say they lead where they're saying constantly on the ball left, true.
Yeah. Why do you think they can't get through? What are Donegal doing? So sometimes it might look like a team with a man-to-man defence might look like a dirt wall depending on position, etc. Whether Donegal are not going to let happen there or have different principles involved.
Looks like the two lines of defence, one inside the other, so even if the guy breaks the first line,
Yeah,
they're picking up, there is a pick up from one through the second line.
exactly. Yeah, that's definitely a principle of it. So we call that some no front line isn't being isolated out there. So that's like their backup defence there, the safety net behind the front line. Generally speaking, somebody threw that earlier on. We could classify this as like one defensive principle, or what you say, defensive principle is. So pretty much is. And zone really means that, generally speaking, going to try and keep the defence out or the attack out in front of you. And you always look at your notes, the team are playing zone. If they don't, there's no crossing going on. All right. Crossing. I'm going to be very biased there now. I don't really want to be, but obviously I'm a big zonal fan as well. I think it is the most efficient way of defending. Okay, I'm going to put it out there, head on the block. I shouldn't probably say that, but because I just want us to learn about the different types. But yeah, and that's why when you're defending man-to-man, as the earlier on with Donegal, you see Dublin at times, even though they're four fantastic teams. Personally looking at that, when you're going zonal, you keep the player in front of you and you don't start switching like that. Again, it comes back to the basketball principles. Really, that's just football, just catching up on basketball. And basketball, typically, it's all zonal until they were going to do it, because it's so effective. But you don't want to be dropping and changing defence, because it just that creates that separation in defence where players can get shots off. Okay, they both take a lot of coaching, generally speaking, but you can see the structure there that Donegal have. You see how much it frustrates Kerry at times, and when it's done very, very well, as Donegal typically do, it can be very, very effective.
With a big change to zone level and where the wind is, because you know, with the wind, the opposition, there are 2 points.
The 2 points.
Yeah.
So you push out that popularity, exactly, yeah. And you saw it in the earlier clips, I'm not sure if it comes up here, but you saw it as well against with Armagh. So Armagh are zonal as well, as you can see, very similar to what Donegal are doing. They just pass on forwards, they don't follow them around. They'll pick up some players in the inside line, man in there, but if they run outside of that front arc, they're not going to follow them out there, you're just going to pass them off to somebody else. Yeah.
But then that tactic there as well, in the Dublin Donegal game, so against the wind, just not about the environment, an impact there. And they're playing something as well, there's a lot of varsity football going on there, the Dubs trying to in against the wind, against that defence.
Yeah.
It was very tough, very, and very effective, you know.
This is the thing. And unfortunately, it's kind of starting to Jack there about how we're speaking about, people give out a lot about GAA football in the last couple of years, and it's really just because coaching is caught up with other sports around the world and get down the blocks, because the most efficient way, in my opinion, is to play counter-attacking football and hurling. I see teams coming to hurling out here as well. When they're hurling, they're playing counter-attacking hurling. They're dropping their half back. They're breaking that speed. Most other sports in the world, soccer, basketball, hockey, lacrosse, etc., they all have a counter-attacking element to it, because the subteams in really, really tight, and then they just break. I mean, it's not coach's fault, it's just that coaching is caught up. So now the new rules coming in is going to make it a little bit more difficult, but that's why I would say with the new rules, you're going to have less defenders back there, so arguably, is man-to-man, is zone going to be a more effective defence? I would tell, I think it's fair, where I'm leaning towards, but maybe that's just me kind of coming from a background as well. I just prefer it, whereas I understand that man-to-man can be very, very effective. Dublin are brilliant at it too. Okay, so we each their own. It's more so how do we actually coach the principles is the most important thing. But Armagh, similar to this, Donegal, probably more so similar to Dublin at the moment, with that man-to-man. You saw that area of the crossing that was going on with the Tyrone defenders there. That's how the space can be created. Whereas Donegal, the principle of their defence is we don't cross, we pass players on, and we try to shut them down very, very quickly then. Sorry, Jack, jump in.
Just one point on that as well. If you go back to the earlier tip with Kings Andrew Wilson,
yes,
if you consider yourself an educator, and depending on the player that you're working with, rather than sticking to one principle, you need to coach every kind of principle to the player. So you're educating the player, now they have a broader understanding of the game. So when you're actually performing, like we want to stick to a zone of defence, but it isn't, you also have a responsibility to really extend their game intelligence so they can play both. And they can switch between both, even in the season or from age stage to age stage. So I think that's an important thing from a coaching perspective as well.
And it's a brilliant point, and something I probably should have mentioned what you're saying there is so important, because while I might think that zonal is the best, particularly at the older level, I wouldn't be coaching from zonal into our underage teams, because I know that zonal needs a certain amount of individual ability as well, which if we start coaching zonal into our underage teams, we start to lose some of that patience of actually how to defend man to man, how their agility, how to chase somebody down, how to send somebody back. We become too reliant on the zonal system, and you're putting kind of a low ceiling on the development, where I'm looking at probably you can get away with it and feel like you're under pressure to get massive wins and all that at the rate, which I know sometimes they are. But like you see, can we go more man to man? Can we get our players to have that big ceiling on them? Because it's tough to go man to man, maybe put a little bit of rotation in there with them. And then understand, that as they get older, we might shift towards this sort of thing, but I know I've got some really good rounded players when they come in here.
Pigeonhole too much. So.
Exactly, yes. Pigeonhole too much, become too reliant on safety net, and then all of a sudden they're put into situations in matches where they just can't do it because maybe the safety net isn't there for them anymore. So, Jesus, I'm right now. Jenny, please feel free to stop me there when I say this. So low press. Okay, principles. Cover arc defence. You see there, that's all. This is what we're going to talk about, how we actually coach the low press with the zonal low press. Principles of that. So we need a cover arc defence, so that arc we want, when we're set up, when our defence is set, it's going to look like hopefully an arc around the players are going to be keeping that ball outside of us. We're actually going to be on the shooting line, whatever that may be, depending on the wind, etc., the ability of the players, opposition players. Our shooting line might be a little bit different for a certain player, maybe not for other players. We don't want any defender to get isolated. We have cover behind, cover beside. Fill that middle. Middle is the most dangerous area of the pitch. We do not want to have that middle wide open. Tight at the ball. Again, new rules. It's going to be hard to spread it across. So the principle is when the ball is here, this should look a lot tighter, or actually look tighter, be a little bit more gappy, shall we say, or looser to the other side. They start shifting that ball across, we start shifting around with them. Okay? So that's what we want. And again, big principle of defence, we're going to try to actively avoid crossing defenders. It can be very difficult training this into you. The players get used to it because if we're used to man, they're used to just following their player. Okay? So that's probably the biggest principle that we do not want to be crossing. You pass you want. You press where the ball is, okay, you pass and then you shift side to cover that space. So, we're going to start off very, very simple. I'm not going to bring a team in and say, okay, let's play backs and forwards here. We want to do 10v10 or 11v11, etc. We're going to start off individually because we want to build the players up as individuals first. Okay, you need to learn skills. I might start off very, very simple. You've all seen it. 1v1 displays doesn't work, so I'm going to have to jump in here. Okay. Don't mind my animation here, please. So effectively, we're just going to set up maybe a couple of stations around here. We're going to be working in 1v1s because we want more repetition, more exposure. Ball is going to come in. Okay, you just have to take the player on. The defender has to try and stand them up for as long as they can. Attacking players trying to get that shot off. Depending on the size of the grid, depending on the ability of your players, you can make it shorter if they're younger probably. As soon as they get more comfortable, you can widen that a little bit. After that, we can layer it on. We're going to have an extra defender coming back in here. Job might be, okay, we want to say we're working on trapping, so you have to stay on the outside of the attacking player coming in, and we want to sort of shove you into the defender. Or we want your job is your scrambling defense, we want you to get back and just get back all the side so that we can get you in front. Loads of different things you can do on this, but we won't spend too long on it. But this is where we start 1v1s, then 2v1s, and then we're into 2v2s. This is where we start working on non-crossing. So we've got 2v2 here. Again, the game, or the grid, etc., should I say, is based on the ability of your players working it up or shortening it in, depending on what they're able to do. The principle is we don't be working on crossing, so okay, so you're working on getting no isolations, closing down the man on the ball. This number 5, we don't want him over here because again we're tight where the ball is. Etc. Then we can have an extra layer on with an extra player coming in. Now we're getting more into working on traps as well up here. This area we're working on scrabbling defense. We just want to get back ball side. Attackers have a certain amount of time to get that shot away. Again, don't read too much into it, but loads of experience on it, etc. This one here, then we're moving on to 3v3s, a little bit more scrambling defence, attacking team coming in for the wing, and we scramble across, get set up, get our arc defence on the line, lads have to try and work the score, 3 guys, the principle is we don't want you crossing, these guys might start crossing here, again, okay, 11 and 3, didn't do so great there because they started crossing, got in each other's way, space was created from them to get that shot away. So again, we're working on that a little bit more. Again, we're moving into more what we call the advanced, but it's also a little bit more game specific as well. So rather than before you go into advanced, you're just layering it up. More players coming in, closer to the game. Okay, it's closer to the game. Do we like to do that the whole time? No, because not a lot of action going on. You might get a few amount of exposure. The game might go over very quickly. But the principle is, okay, we've got more players in, more realistic. Now we're going to be working the attacking team. We would say we've got a player inside, we want you to work on that inside pop pass. As a defence, what we do for a team, work that inside pop pass because every team is trying to do that now and we know it's going to happen at some stage. How do we react to that? Okay, so again, you're trying to coach instincts. Players are keeping the ball outside, pop pass in. Then again, like Tyrone and some teams are going to be bad. We're kind of swarming around that player, not let them pass the ball back out, working on the discipline of your defence. And again, players are shifting in and one is getting inside them. The other side over here, the more advanced switch, might not work in the core rules unless you're a really well coached team and you've got some great ability of players, but we want to get this ball back actively now. So we're trying to work on traps. So we allow them to come down to the side of the pitch. We allow them to come down, we get our arc defence set up, we're going to push across, then we're going to shift and we're going to close the gap on them so they can't pass the ball back outside. That was an awful easier to do with more player defenders, obviously. It's less easy now at the moment, but it's still doable, particularly if you have a wind and there's different areas that you might need to work at. But again, it can be very, very useful. If you give them the space, you allow the opposition attacker to go down a certain area, you have your defence set up, there might be a trigger pointer and trigger word that you know, okay, see what's going to happen here in the next few seconds. Our defence is set, let's shoot out, cover off, we're going to cover the way to the goal, we're going to cover off the outlet players, we're going to squeeze in and get it, actively go after, aggressively go after turnover in defence. The middle press, not going to spend too much long time on this, but it's interesting, similar principle, a little bit, couple of different principles. We need to set the line where we're going to press, we need to lead them obviously to isolation so that they haven't got too many outlets to go to, so you need to maybe let them come a certain way, they're going to distance themselves from ideally the full back line so they can't easily turn back and pass the ball back. You're going to the weak side squeeze, the ball is at the left side, the right side has to really be in tune and squeezing in. No outlet for a kick pass, long kick pass, or a hand pass down the line, so those defenders have to be in front or at least beside them so that they're not getting an easy outlet just down the pitch. So you really have to let them come to a point, they look up, there's nothing down there, you know they're going to have to turn back, but when you turn back, they're just turning back into a whole world of trouble. Then you have to be, with the new rules, have to be very, very slick with that 3-man stick rotation, okay? Don't know if this will actually work, it's just me playing around with it, so don't judge me too harshly, okay? We're letting them get isolated. A full back line is chasing them in. Full back line can cross the line because when it's your half forward line players on the other side have decided to kind of drift towards the line, so as soon as that press comes on, they're shifting across the line, so the full back line, full forward line players can squeeze them in. It's going to take a lot of coaching, it's going to be difficult, so that's why I think you might not see that too often. So again, from a game point of view, how we work with that weak side squeeze, you can have set up maybe 4 or 2 matches. The games can be set up into 5 grids, sometimes even just 3 grids. If the ball is at one side, the pitch like it is here, we're always just, this isn't a great example here, this is a game, okay, the lads, you're not there trying to do something different, but the focus of your game is looking at what's actually happening in these grids over here. Are these players shifting across to try and squeeze in and put pressure on the ball? Okay. How are we for time, Jenny? Am I? We're 10 minutes. High press. Similar principles. A little bit different. This is probably something that is going to be happening an awful lot more within the game, as you can already see. Particularly in football, where one team usually has a strong wind, so we do need to coach into them and be engaged in it. Lead into isolation if you can. you're allowing them to disengage from the support. So again, you're kind of letting them move over to probably the side of the pitch, using that side end as anyway. And again, that weak side is the most important. Any type of press you're putting on, usually what the weak side, or call it the weak side, is the far side of the pitch. What those players are doing is really going to allow you to be effective towards where the ball is, because they're going to have to lead their players. There's a chance you're going to leave a lot of opposition players probably over there. You're going to start squeezing. Then when that trigger, when that kind of call comes, do press in so hard and so quickly that they're in a position to get their head up and switch that ball across really, really far. Okay? Again, it takes a bit of coaching, but it's not as difficult as you might think. It's very effective at the moment when now our players can't use their keeper as an outlet. Low backs at the moment. Okay, principles of play with the ball. Try this. Some ball tips here. Okay, so with the ball, what type of principles can we have? You can take something you saw there, just in general. What can we do? What are our options?
Run off the shoulder.
Run it off the shoulder. Yeah.
The ball will be in a better position.
Yeah. Head up the ball. Scanning.
Finishing runs.
Finishing runs. Following them through. It can be decoys or it can be natural option. Yep. Changing the angle of your attack. Angle of attack. Again, angle of decoys or it can be get the ball exactly. The lowest. A lot of them there. Again, don't worry about the terminology. And again, that's not an exhaustive list. There's loads more you can add onto it. Not going through the hands, exactly, and the runs, etc. And what I would say is that just be conscious that you can have your principles attack with the ball, but you have to take into account what the opposition are going to do as well, and how that will change. Not necessarily your principles or how they might work better against certain situations. Just because somebody said there the angle runs, reminded me, angle run is very, very effective against a team of defence who are playing man-to-man against you. An angle run can be very not effective. It can actually be a bit of a liability if you're doing it against a team who are playing so on defence, if that angle run is getting the ball. Because usually you're stay away, burst in off the ankle, yeah. So this guy is bursting in off the ankle, I'm giving him a pop pass, and all of a sudden he's being met in the middle with a load of players waiting for him to do that. And he's going to get swarmed, usually. Okay? However, if you do that angle run, and all of a sudden the angle run now is more the deep run, so he makes that run, he's bombing through the middle against his own defence. I pretend I'm going passing the ball, opposition think he's going to get the ball, so they are obviously thinking they're kind of going to swarm on him, but I do a little fake hand pass, I go around and then back, I'm going to create myself a little bit of space to get a shot away or pass it to somebody else. So that kind of difference, how we know what works against something and what doesn't work against others, and how we might just need to tweak it. Alright, so just while we all have philosophies and principles of play for attacking in particular, we have to think about what the opposition is doing a lot as well. Okay, because what works one day it doesn't necessarily always work the next day, so we just need to be adaptive. As Jack was saying earlier, our players need to be able to make these decisions. We need to give them that option to do so, rather than just tell them black and white, we're going to play this way every single time. Doesn't work like that. So Again, going to start off, we turn the ball over deep. I want all my players to be comfortable on the ball. We want what game can we play? There's loads of them we can play, but we do want to be playing some sort of a game. We want to give them loads of reps because I'm working with 12-year-olds. They're all that haven't passed the ball now, so I'm going to get them into little mini matches. Going to have 2 goals each side, or just being more for adult teams as well, just putting extra, bit more difficult constraints for them. 4v4, carry the ball through, drop the ball, you've got to defend, so we're just working the ball through with some length. They can move the ball, carry the ball through either goal. Why do I have either goal and not just one goal either side? Because what usually happens is then defence starts running back towards one goal. All your players who are bombing out and just their angle running coming straight in this way, and you see funneling through one goal, whereas I want my players to be playing the scan kick, which means then they can carry the ball out. If one team is more defensive against one goal, we're always looking, can we shift that ball to the other side and move through the other goal. Again, instinctively, without me actually having to tell the players an awful lot, they start doing this naturally because they have the options there to do it. Once they're comfortable with this, we can start layering in extra defenders, put a little bit more of a high press on. If the extra defenders are, should we say, attackers at this stage coming and pressing, they can work on trapping, they can work on overloading certain areas, you do loads of things with it, challenge them. So as the players get more comfortable, you can do so much with a simple game like this, it's amazing. And it's amazing how Gaelic football, when we have the ball, is so much just about transitioning. We have to be very, very good at that. And this is just like, this is a huge core part of most training sessions for me, to be honest with you. Just different options in it. Very simple. Ball game, breaking out. They're moving, scanning, moving the ball forward. Different constraints, so they get an extra bonus point if they get that head up, get one player forward, kick past their runner off, different constraints, get extra points for that, so it forces them, so it allows them to get the head up and move that ball forward quicker. Loads of different things, so we won't go down with that. Again, we start off with 4v4s because we know it's a reverse engineer of what's going to happen, because we know we need to break out from our defence with the ball. We know we're going to be tackled. We want to keep it low numbers because we want to get players get loads of repetitions, loads of exposure, but we know low numbers means it's a little bit further than what's going to happen in the game. In the game you could have 10, you could have 11 players pressing you, so we just, as they get more comfortable, we can layer on extra players, we can layer on more games, we can carry the ball through. It's the 6v6, both sides. The next clip then, it can be 11v11, so it's the most extreme version of high press, which is becoming more and more common. Means you can carry the ball through any game, then you start layering in more constraints, and that's how we work the ball out from defence. Once we work the ball out from defence, then we'll know we're going to be in a faster attack or a slow attack as we're moving the ball into our forward line. Alright? Right now, we have to obviously, as I said, that's a sweeping generalisation, but usually your attacks are going to be broken into one of those two things, and you need to be prepared for both. Ideally, we'd all love to play this beautiful counter-attacking game where we win the ball defence and we're just bombing up the pitch and our attack will get a goal or find a release a shot off very, very quickly. But if you're playing against relatively well-coached teams, they're going to have a good scramble defence and they're not going to let you bomb up the pitch if you want. So you're going to have to prepare for these slow attacks also. Fast attack principles, we're going to be thinking forward. So again, we're head up, scanning, putting the constraints in those 4v4s and 6v6s games so that we have an outlet player, so we're breaking out all the time. Give a early kick pass on to somebody there with runners off. Always we need extra runners forward, so we want our players, all of our cornerbacks, everybody, fullbacks, half forward, half backs, we want you to bomb. If it's on, it's on. If you have energy, you go. Okay, you rest when you're tired. You have energy, you go, and then we're going to be playing forward. So we're looking, kind of pass that ball forward, play it forward, let the ball go up when it's on. Again, principle. We're always looking, but we're never forced. Simple game then, so we want to get the head up. End zone game, nothing radical here, you've probably all seen it. 1v1's inside, we've got to carry that ball through the players. We're always looking, can we give a kick pass in then to that player inside. This could be used as a good transitional game from defence to mid, or even mid into our forward line. We can use a hot pass. So we're working it through. we can have width, we can have depth, they can be very effective against certain defenses, but they can be not very effective against other defenses. They can actually hamper you a little bit, support runners, decoy runners, angle runs, angle decoy runners, feint and shoot, in the middle, fill the middle, loads of it. Okay? Simply, we're working on, go back to those, within the principles, we need our players to have a very good skill level, all right? We need the skill, like the movement. There's different variations of movement you can do. The most popular ones that you see happening a lot, and we go back to that Derry kit, because I think they were at the pump last year, they were one of the best teams for it. A couple of inside forwards really got it. So we're looking at that cutback run, so you're bringing the ball. It's supposed to be a sign, Jenny. So, again, coming back to 1v1s, because I want players to learn the movement before they put into a game situation. So they're learning in a 1v1 scenario where there's good chances. Here we've got cutback runs. This one here we're looking at taking the ball at an angle, we're looking feint and shoot. So if you get yourself in a 1v1 situation, I want you to be able to bring the ball to one side, draw the defender, cut back quickly and get that shot away. This one here it's going to be like a decoy shield, where number 10 is going to get the ball, pretending that he's going to bring the ball around the other side of the pitch, but as soon as he catches it, he's going to quick turn back onto his right foot, knock it over, and the last box here is where we're going to be working on a kick pass over the top. So you're going to make that run, defender is marking you from in front, drag it out a little bit, turn back, kick pass over the top. Again, 4 very simple ones. You can have loads of different types of, but we need to expose our players to different type of movements that they are going to need to break down a good man-to-man defense or a good zone defense. Okay, because as we know, you can coach the players to have a certain tactical level, but within that tactical nuance, they're going to need to have a decent skill level to break out good defenses. So we started there when we won, and that. Then we can move something like, okay, we want to work on our inside pop passes forward, like, because that's a very effective way of breaking down, particularly these new kind of defenses where they won't be able to scramble, and even zones, there's going to be times now where the zone defense is going to be a little bit weak and vulnerable, where the players might be able to get back in time to fill it, or might be able to get across and then fill the middle. So when we look at the inside pop passes from hands or from kick, we can look at runners coming off the shoulder then. 1v1s, looking for that pop pass inside. 1v1 on the outside, players coming in behind the runs, pop pass into runners coming off the shoulder, training instincts there. We can layer on more players, outside players coming in. We can layer on having an extra defender sitting inside of that middle area there. So the attacker bringing in has to make a decision: can I give that pop pass or not? Do I have to maybe take on my player? Different decisions have to be made there. Okay, so again, not always the one solution that is always going to be on for you. Think of 1 or 2 slides left, you'd be glad to know. Okay, this is the last one. This is how we just put it all together then into more of a closer to a game situation. Don't mind the defense, and I think they're going no man to man. But again, you're looking for moving the ball around against a slow attack, and you're looking to move that ball inside. So you could have an idea of what is coming off him or different ones going on, strengths, the extra scores. Okay, so that's really try to sweeping generalization to a lot of principles of play. Apologies for going over. Thank you very much for listening to me for the last hour. Sorry, Jenny.
Any questions or?
Please, yeah. And the hard ones directed at Jack, though, please. Good.
Thanks. If any questions before we head out?
Just Mark, sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just on the Derry video there, what software are you using that, or how
That was what we used with ice sport analysis, is what we used. The ice sport analysis is very good, actually very, very useful. Yeah, that was ice sport analysis. Yeah, so we just usually set a game into a guy who works with them, uses their software. He just codes it down and breaks it up and then we do the analysis ourselves like that. So players can go in and the next game, they can write their comments on it. So we have a game on Sunday, players can go in there and break it down themselves if they want, or we can ask the players to focus on something, or we can put in comments and we can tag players then to have a look at this clip here. It's very, very user friendly. It's good, yeah. So I support analysis. So yeah.
I just look there, it's great when the players have the skill to execute on any tactics and the rest of the play. So do you still use this game-based methods when you want to practice the hook kick? Or practice the left hand, or practice the right, or do you sort of just get them into twos and, you know?
No, I try these games for everything. So I want players to get better at their hook kick, and right now we're just punt kicking the whole time. I would play a little game where I would allow the game to have you might get extra points if they try the hook kick. So most simply just play a 4v4 and the 4 is either side, okay? So they're working on a hand pass, but you can still score 1 point from a punt kick. But anybody who scores a hook kick here, lads or girls, you're getting 3 points for that. As soon as I can see that they're relatively able to do the movement, they just need a little bit more confidence and they need to learn the movement in context. I want them in the game straight away. That is one of what's going to transfer to the game. It's going to be messy. And the big thing is there's nothing works in coaching is going to be like a silver bullet going to work straight away for you. But you're just going to have to trust it that it's going to come, that penny will drop. And once it does, it's amazing how quickly players will adapt, learn, their growth and their confidence comes from that. So long story short, yes, as much as we can put it into a game situation. And when I say a game, it doesn't have to be goals at either end, goal. Some sort of format of a game. We don't use the word drill because drill is usually kind of you go into here and you jump back and you not pass the game. But yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. My experience just on that is just a wee bit of a derivative of that. So you can take the West Leroy. So if we had the first part of our session, we were a really intense game. So they're going hammers and tongs, 12, 15, 80 minutes. Then I might build those isolated drills into a recovery phase. So I might have a 4-minute recovery. And it might be just kicking, putting hand pass, and the non-competitive. So I'm getting them back down, resting a wee bit, to go hard at them again. Because even at that level, they love kicking the ball and they don't really get the chance, they love wrapping the foot around it and all of this. So that's the only time I would probably bring in a little bit of non-contact, non-game.
I think it's a recovery phase. And you can do if you're doing kind of chat with the players and what to do and work on certain things before training starts, really enjoy it, give them a rest period. Each player may be broken down to 2 or 3 of the means, skills on the lads, go over there, 3-second grab train, work on these little skills on your own, and then come back. Works very, very well with lads because you said that you have to go kicking on the ball. Talented ladies, footballers is different because it's just unfortunate that in mind, but that's a separate discussion there.
The only other thing I would say as well as that is your own kind of feel and good instinct. So you could be coming off a phase, a 3 or 4 week phase, and they're absolutely out on their feet, flop. You can just do a lovely skill session. Just freshens the whole thing rather than at the pump all the time. And they'll enjoy it, and then you'll have them better the next session. Does that make sense? So that's just a wee bit of coaching, feel and good instinct.
Yeah, that's it. That comes back to the art of coaching, which is, yeah, you can do the whole presentation on that as well. So far. Any other questions?
Mark.
Sorry.
I think you kind of hinted at it there. Do you recommend targeted feedback? So say if you spot an individual who 99% of the time, but talking specifically about an individual, we have 10-20% of the time we make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Do you recommend that mid-game or post-game?
I usually have those chats kind of, if I can, just in training sessions, and depending on the player, as much as sometimes we'd love to give feedback to every single person, or just go on, depending on their maturity level and age, etc. Age obviously doesn't usually come to maturity level, but that's, there's some inter-county players who love getting feedback, and some just would run away to see you come over to them. So you have to kind of be smart and maybe do quite right. Because we don't want players getting frustrated with you or again either. But other players' feedback, I think, when I like it, you'll know who they are. You just have a quick chat with them in training. During matches, there's maybe sometimes too much emotion going on there, and it just doesn't sit well, and it can be a negative connotations around it. So there's a good chat in training. If you're older, you're working other teams, maybe just go have a chat and coffee with them. If you think they want to, you can bring some video analysis and do a little bit of the video stuff. It is powerful. If you obviously, but you have to be a certain age to do that. It's really very powerful. Any other questions?
Mark, just in relation to all the new rule changes in football, how do you see that impact on the way the coaches approach the game?
I think you're going to see is from a defensive point of view, coach are going to have to make a choice very quickly, are we man to man or are we zone, because I think that's, we can't just leave that a little bit ad hoc at the moment to fill the area with players, you know, because some coaching just get back there and your two half forwards, just drop back into the middle there. There has to be a little bit more talk on into that now because just there's going to be more space and there's going to be less players, so we need to focus on that. The rules from the kickouts, situational stuff that we end up playing there, you know, to go through, they are going to be a game changer. Kickouts, not only that rule is going to be taken into, you can imagine it's going to be still in it. I like it, but it means that unless you're prepared to have a good, you don't need to have a very good press at the moment to force the keeper to kick it long. Something short, but you're going to have ideas there around how can we give ourselves the best chance of being long kickouts. And also to do that, but also not to leave the house wide open at the back either. That's going to be a challenge, you know. And you can see how effectively looking at the games last weekend, you know, that on TV and that. It's the game changer, really. You know, it has been in ladies football kickouts. Now at the moment it's men's game as well. If you can't win a lot of your kickouts, or if you can't go after kickouts, knowing that I'm still going to be relatively safe at the back, you're just going to be in a world of trouble. You're going to be chasing yourself the whole match. So a huge amount of time on say on defence, a huge amount of time on kickouts. Jack, you want to start you want to whatever it is, that's just my own opinion. We're very at the early stages, so I'm kind of slow to give, but I think personally at the moment that's what we need to.
Yeah, I think the speed of thought as well around the solo and goal will be key. It's a whole, I think that's a game changer as well. So it allows that front foot play from when you're penalised. There's a massive thing around consent as well. A whole change of behaviour for players, and believe it or not, if you get it, I've been acting from a club perspective. I spoke to the referee after the game and they said it's actually an easier game to ref now. Just all the talk around dissent and the change of behaviour seems to have filtered down very, very quickly. So even though the referees have an awful lot more to observe and blow the whistle on, it's an easier game to ref because of the players' behaviours. So that's an interesting thing. And I think coaches getting that message out there to players is important. I think it's going to make for a faster, quicker game.
Okay. Right, guys, we might get out on the pitch. So